What if I told you that a tiny stretch of ocean, barely 200 kilometers wide, is one of the biggest reasons China still hasn't invaded Taiwan? And what if I told you the Philippines plays a much bigger role in this than most people realize? Let's talk about the Bashi Channel and how geography, history, and modern politics have turned the Philippines into a powerful piece on the chessboard of the Indo-Pacific region. Let's begin with geography. The Bashi Channel is a slender body of water tucked between Taiwan's southern tip and the northernmost islands of the Philippines. On a map, this narrow strip of sea seems quiet, almost invisible, nothing but water. In the world of strategy and warfare, the Bashi Channel is a loaded gun pointed at East Asia. It's what the military calls a choke point, a natural bottleneck where ships, submarines, and aircraft must pass to move between two massive zones, the South China Sea and the Western Pacific Ocean. If you control this channel, you don't just monitor traffic, you control the flow of war. Now imagine this. If China were to invade Taiwan, it would need to move warships, submarines, and aircraft carriers into place. The shortest, fastest, and most practical route through the Bashi Channel. And here's where it gets even interesting. Despite having no nuclear weapons, no aircraft carriers, and no major naval fleet, the Philippines stands like a silent gatekeeper. Without launching a single missile, it can complicate, delay, or even disrupt a Chinese military operation. How? Let's break it down. The Bashi Channel is only about 150 kilometers wide at its narrowest point. From Mavlis Island in the Philippines, Taiwan's shores are nearly visible on a clear day. That means any movement through the channel can be easily monitored by radar, drones, and satellites. And yes, even by civilian fishing boats. Over the years, the Philippines, often with US help, has built radar and surveillance facilities in the northern islands. The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or in short EDCA, allowed the US to gain access to key military bases, including those in northern Luzon, just south of Batanes. In 2023, the Philippines approved 4 more additional EDCA sites, one of which is in Cagayan, a short hop from the Bashi Channel. This effectively turns the area into a forward-listening post where American forces could monitor every ship in the sky and every ripple in the sea. Would China really want to risk passing through a channel being watched 24/7 by both the Philippines and the US? Here's another complication. The Bashi Channel is known for its complex underwater terrain and strong currents. The noisy and unpredictable underwater environment makes it easier for enemy sonar to detect movements. That's bad news for China's stealth strategy. Even worse, typhoons and tropical storms regularly sweep through this area, slowing down ships and cutting off air support. Nature itself becomes a barrier. Let's not forget the people. Northern Luzon and Batanes may be remote, but the locals are watching. They know their lands, they know the waters, and most importantly, they're fiercely Filipino. Combine that with the US military's rotational presence, and China would be walking into a highly alert zone with little chance of surprise. In fact, any move toward the channel could spark international alarms within hours. How does the Philippines, without firing a single shot, make this so hard for China? It does it with location, alliances, natural terrain, and a growing sense of strategic awareness. It may not be a military superpower, but by sitting at the right place at the right time, the Philippines is already playing a giant role in shaping the outcome of any conflict in the region. And the Bashi Channel, it may look like a quiet sea passage, But in the next war, it could be the line that decides everything. The Philippines owns the islands closest to Taiwan, Batanes, Abayat, and Sabtang. They may look quiet and remote, but their location gives the Philippines a front row seat to anything moving in the Bashi Channel. The Philippines does not have to stop China alone. The Philippines has a mutual defense treaty with the United States. That means if the Philippines is attacked, probably the US is supposed to help. But in recent years, the alliance has gone even further. In 2023, the Philippines gave the US access to 4 new military bases, including one in northern Luzon, the part of the country closest to Taiwan. Why does that matter? Because now US troops can rotate through bases not just a few hundred kilometers from Taiwan. That gives them a launch pad to watch and, if needed, respond quickly to any invasion attempt. And all of this adds to the pressure on China. Would Beijing really want to move through a narrow sea lane, watched by both the Philippines and the US? This is not the first time this region has been a hotspot. During World War II, Japan invaded the Philippines to control the sea routes and isolate US forces in the Pacific. They understood something China also knows today. If you control the sea lanes, you control the outcome of the war. The Bashi Channel was critical then, and it's even more critical now. History is repeating itself, but this time the players are different. So here's the challenge for China. If it sends ships through the Bashi Channel, they'll be exposed. If it sends planes over, the US and the Philippines can track them. If it invades Taiwan, it risks pulling the Philippines and maybe even the US into the fight. And it's not just about war. Think about the undersea cables that run through the area. These cables carry internet data across Asia. If war breaks out, the entire region's communications could be disrupted. That's how sensitive this area is. So, would you really start a war in a place that could turn half the world against you? Today's warfare is not just about tanks and missiles. It's about information. From satellites watching from above to submarines hiding below. Everyone is watching the Bashi Channel. The US has surveillance planes flying over out of the Philippines. They're constantly scanning for Chinese movements. Even Japan is paying attention. And guess who is in the middle of all of this? The Philippines, a country that may not have the strongest military, but has one of the most important locations in the region. The Philippines is now walking a tightrope. On one hand, it wants to defend its territory and support its allies. On the other, it still trades heavily with China and wants to avoid becoming ground zero in a future war. But as tension rises, especially over Taiwan, the Philippines will have to make difficult choices. Can it stay neutral, or will it be forced to pick a side? And what happens if China decides it's now or never? So the next time you hear about Taiwan, don't just look at Taipei or Beijing. Look at the map. Look at that tiny group of islands north of the Philippines. And remember the Bashi Channel, because if a war starts over Taiwan, there is a good chance it will begin right there. What do you think? Can the Philippines continue to walk this fine line, or is it only a matter of time before it's dragged into something bigger? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you'll never miss an episode.